My friend, I have a question for you. Are you a coach, consultant, infopreneur, service provider? If you are, then congratulations. I have a high conviction that this will be by far the best video you watch this month. This is actually from a private presentation I did a year ago at this point. It's actually one of 10 presentations I did, sort of a more informal Q&A where I talk about a lot of things. In fact, some of the stuff I talk about towards the end, like there's very few people on earth that have this sort of insight and have lived this experience and have actually done it and can speak on these things. You know, not really the whole monkey see, monkey do, which unfortunately is quite prevalent in our industry. So yeah, this is a year ago, and bear in mind, this is before I had the biggest year of my life. 2025, wrote a massive check to become a co-owner in WAP. I bought consulting.com in its entirety, everything it ever was and everything it ever is. Bought 100% of that company and all of its assets. I then proceeded to break the WAP record twice for most amount earned on platform in 1 hour, 24 hours, 7 days, and 30 days, and still hold that record. Both spot number 1 and 2. And the reason I say all of this is to make it very clear, I love this industry. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think the knowledge business, informational business is the most unfairly villainized business in the world. It is such a difficult business past the first 3 or 4 years. People truly don't understand how difficult it is to grow year on year. And I am pretty much one of the only people that has ever done it, continue to grow year on year in profit. And that's because we're so forward thinking and we like to be ahead of the curve. So listen, of course, as much as I appreciate you and respect you, our most up-to-date stuff stays with our private clients. So now at this point, I feel comfortable sharing 10% of a presentation. In fact, some of the stuff I actually did have to cut out because it was too sensitive. I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing this for people who weren't there at the event, number one. And number two, these are strategies a year ago, and a lot has changed in a year, which is why I feel comfortable sharing it on YouTube. But regardless, the range of topics and sort of the stuff that I would never really make dedicated videos about, or you never really sort of catch me talking about publicly, in my humble opinion, this will be a very fascinating watch for you if you are an active player in this space or any adjacent spaces. So with that being said, I will stop blabbering and I'll roll into video, and then let me know in the comments. I have absolutely neglected this channel over the space of last 5 months. And that's because we're in a funny space where we're owners in the league. We own part of the infrastructure layer, aka WAP. We're also players in the league, as in we're active participants in the space. So unfortunately, that doesn't leave much time for me to also then be a coach, aka, help other participants in the space grow their businesses. I guess that's kind of the last half a year taking a bit of a back burner, but truly from the bottom of my heart, I love this space more than anything else. And at a time when it feels like everyone is trying to turn their back on this industry and run away from this industry, I am more committed to it than ever before. I will try my best to upload here, even if it doesn't make sense as much as some of the other stuff we got going on. But let me know in the comment section if you find this stuff valuable. And if you do, I will most certainly try to carve out more time to accommodate for it. So let's get into it.
So I am going to take a couple of questions from the ones that people have sent in to start with. So I've got one here, Iman, from German, saying, if you were to start again in 2025, would you do an aggressive strategy like the short form multi-account so that people get to know you fast?
No, I wouldn't. And I think that's one of the really cool things that you guys are going to get not only from this event, but just our general philosophy. There's many things that I do, and my strategy and my definition of success should not be your definition of success. And I find that there's a lot of advice out there where they're just trying to make carbon copies of themselves. And they're like, well, this worked for me, so this has to work for you. And it's like, no, there's nuance. The truth is there's nuance based on how far you want to scale your business, what kind of business you're in, what sort of industry you're in, your strengths, your weaknesses. There's just so many factors that are at play here. So the reason I wanted to start off by saying that is because I know a lot of people look at our short form stuff and they go, well, you have this massive operation, for sure, but I also have an infrastructure behind the scenes to monetize it, whether that be, my eyewear brand, $95 eyewear, whether that be a digital launchpad or a $37 a month mobile app. We have this infrastructure to actually monetize a broader audience. Excuse me. And that's, so that's something that works for us. But if I had to drop absolutely everything and focus on one thing and one thing only, that would be the high ticket stuff. That would be a micro niche YouTube channel speaking to a specific demographic, and then an Instagram to funnel people to then have conversations. You know, sometimes YouTube isn't enough. Sometimes Instagram gives a little bit of that extra flavor, personality. You know, you get to have those conversations in the DMs, stuff like that. So to answer your question, you know, in terms of actual most bang for buck, and if I had to start from scratch, I wouldn't try to make super broad content. You guys are going to see that in the presentation. You know, I see a lot of monkey see, monkey do in this industry. Like people see, okay, well that got views, so I should do that. Because I feel like I'm a great person to speak on it, because there's a lot of people who make a lot of top line revenue numbers, and then there's a lot of people who get a bunch of eyeballs. But then I'm in this cool position where I've profited, you know, almost 9 figures in info in the last 5-6 years. We also have a huge audience with huge eyeballs. And then I'm also able to monetize it with physical product brands, consumable brands, you know, all these different verticals. So when I give you advice, it's someone who's actually been there, done that. And I feel like it's probably a lot more meaningful coming from someone who knows how to play the social media game better than anyone else, in my opinion, in the space. So I know how to play that game. I know how to pull those levers. And I can tell you that honestly, it's not really worth it.
Yeah. There's a few questions here actually coming along the same kind of theme. You know, for the longest time, Dean's asking, I wanted to build a personal brand and shoot content, but always strive for perfectionism. Want to have the perfect script, perfect this. How do you get over that initial feeling of embarrassment and awkwardness when starting out?
Listen, I'll be honest, I feel like this is just a pertinent question to how you go about life. And that's that, you know, there's so many things that I'm so bad at when I first start. You know, it's only about 12, 18 months ago that I really started, you know, I invested in companies for years back, but I mean, really seriously, really is my main occupation, started investing in companies strategically, you know, companies that I had a high impact on and were kind of synergistic to my ecosystem. And it was embarrassing. You know, it was embarrassing sitting at the table and, you know, having to type stuff on my notes and you know, chat GPT when I go home and look it up when I go home. And that's just the truth of it, you know. Whenever you go into a new domain, whether that be boxing, even at the moment, recently, the past couple of weeks, we've been doing high rocks prep. Every year I try to set a challenge at one of my companies, the info business. This year it's high rocks, and it's, you know, I haven't done that kind of training in 2-3 years. So it's getting back into the groove of it. It's learning it. So, you know, to answer your question, it's not a matter of, that's not a skill-based question, you know, and that's not really there's not much I can really give you there, except for, I don't have my phone on me, but pull out your phone every single day. This is my challenge to you for the next 10 days, every single day while you're getting ready, while you're brushing your teeth. That one might be tough, but, you know, while you're getting ready for the day, you know, you put on your moisturizer, maybe at the end of the day, you know, you're putting on your moisturizer, you're getting ready, etc., etc. Just put the phone down, okay? Or maybe while you're driving, obviously, you know, eyes on the road, 10 and 2, you know, don't put anyone in danger, but just turn on the camera, you know, and just start practicing what it's like to present, you know, because I think there's very few skills in life that no matter what you do, whenever I think about what skills does it make sense for me to learn, I think, okay, I don't know. The truth is, I don't know what the future has in store for me, and neither do you. You know, when people tell me, "Oh, I made this 10-year plan," I go, "I congratulate you on wasting 3 hours of your time," because the truth is, no one knows 10 years from now what the future is going to have in store. So when I'm thinking about developing my skills and what's a worthwhile skill to learn, I think, okay, what if I don't know what I'm going to do 10 years from now or the specific intricacies of it, but what's a skill that no matter what will always be high income? And being able to present, I think now more than ever, being able to present, whether that be, you know, in a presentation like this, I'm not telling you guys to go be Mr. Beast. In fact, a lot of what I'm going to show you guys in today's initial presentation is don't do that, okay? Now, later down the line, we're going to develop the flywheel VSL, and you know, we're going to actually cast the net wider and wider, which you should do. you keep casting the net wider and wider for so long as it's profitable for your business, and bringing in new people into your world. And I'll show you guys exactly how to do that. But that's not where you should start. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm not telling you guys to go be the next Mr. Beast, but what I am saying is, whether you're doing a presentation to 50 people, 100 people, and you're selling your product or your service. I know we have people in here. Obviously, I looked at all the intake forms and all the surveys because I wanted to curate this in a way that was the most valuable to you guys. So obviously, I wanted to study intimately exactly who the audience is. As I was looking through all the surveys and the intake, it's clear that there's a vast audience of you guys that are in info. There's a lot of you guys who are in e-commerce. So whatever it may be, whether you're what I'm doing right now and what I'm telling you to do, hey, put the phone down. When you go pitch to investors, or maybe you're trying to sell your business, these are skills that will hold true and be valuable for the rest of your life. So I know that was very long-winded, but I really just wanted to make a note there that there's many areas and there's many domains in my life where I'm like, shit, I'm starting out. I feel like I'm a complete beginner again. And this might be something where, the first week you're like, wow, this is new. And then after a month, you're like, okay, I can kind of see how this works. And then after 3 months, you're like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I got this. And then after a year, you're like, wow, why did I not start this earlier? Okay. And this is just gonna be another one of those things in your life.
Iman, you've mastered the art of learning, implementing and scaling systems, whether in business, content creation, or personal growth. Given your experience, how do you structure your approach to being omnipresent across multiple companies and platforms while maintaining your work-life balance?
Well, I think that's something we're gonna really dive deeper into over the space of the next few days. I guess listen, if you're not coming into your meetings and you're like, I actually don't really know what to do. And what I mean by that, I don't mean serious decisions inside of your business. I mean, like, I come into the sales department meeting in one of my companies, or the media buying meeting for one of my companies. I don't really have much input to give, in all honesty. And I think that's a good barometer as to how successful you're running your companies. Okay. So all that to say that you have to put good leadership in place. Now, outside of my info business, I have technical co-founder, or a co-founder, a technical co-founder, CEO that has equity. Now, in different businesses, in some businesses, it makes sense to give equity, and obviously you can have a vesting schedule for that to make sure they don't just come in and get out. And in some businesses, profit share makes more sense. In my opinion, in info businesses, profit share makes a lot more sense. So, my leadership team and my info business, they all have profit share. And that means that this really is their baby. They look at the expenses just as much as they look at the revenue, and they make sure the company is being run in the right way. And they know that they're owners along with me. So I do believe in giving a pool for profit sharing, and just making sure that everyone in your companies are all aligned. I think one of the biggest things that people forget is, of course, when you're hiring someone, they need to give you what you need as a company, but it goes vice versa. And I think that's one of the reasons I've done so well when it comes to retention with my team, is because I'm always thinking, okay, as a company, are we giving people what they want? And by the way, especially when it comes to really great talent, a lot of times that isn't money. It's funny. There's people in companies of mine where they keep making more and more money, yet I know for a fact they're going to leave. The reason why is because they're in a very one-dimensional box. And what I mean by that is, very good people that want to learn and they want to expand, and they don't like that monotony. Now, in some of my companies, it also depends on the age demographic. For example, someone who's 42 at one of my businesses, who's doing the same thing day in, day out, every single day, they're far less likely to churn than someone who's 26, because they're a little later on in their career. They have kids, they have a wife, and they understand that, work isn't meant to be exciting every single day. Whereas, of course, when you've got a younger workforce, sometimes, they think that every day should be a new interest or a new challenge. Every day should be exciting and fun. So the key thing is team, right? You have to have a great team in place. And then I asked myself, okay, what are the things that I can do and only I can do? And, unfortunately or fortunately, that is what I'm doing here today, presenting, creating content, of course, thinking of initiatives. And, I'm always thinking, okay, where's the industry going? I think that's the reason why, as far as I know, I really don't know any other info business that's had year-on-year profits, increase in profits. It's been 6 years in a row now. And I know for sure this is going to be another record-breaking year. And the reason that is, as mentioned, you also have to think, okay, what is coming around the corner? And it's a game of playing offense and a game of playing defense. And for me, the biggest defensive moat you could ever have is building a personal brand, okay? Building a personal brand, something that, it's what Jay-Z says, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business, man. And what he means by that, and I think he was pretty spot on having that mentality when he did it, was he understood that people are the businesses now. Now, of course, they should not be the full business, right? They should be an extension of the business. And he understood that as long as he builds the biggest asset, which is him, then he's just gonna be a magnet for opportunities. And that is same sort of philosophy I've taken. And I mean, you just have to look at smart money. If you look at the fact that presidential election pretty much got won because of a personal brand and because of podcast and media and social media and all this stuff. If you look at that, if you look at the smartest investors, I'll give you an example. There's a gentleman, Harry's, I can't believe I'm forgetting, but he has a podcast on YouTube called 20VC. Okay, so he's in venture capital. I think his fund has raised $500 million. I think 100,000 subscribers, something like that. Me and my advisor, we talk about him a lot, or talk about that as a great case study that no matter what you're doing, Harry Stebbings, that's the one. I think his fund is at $500 million now. Think about that, $500 million raised because of what a micro niche personal brand, I think he has 100,000, correct me if I'm wrong, 100,000, 200,000 subscribers. I remember when I had 200,000 subscribers, I was celebrating as someone noticed me once a year. So it's not like your life is any different. It's not like you can't walk down the street. It's not like you have no private, that's a beautiful, sweet spot to be at. He's raised $500 million and, you can, 2 and 20, you can take a stab at what his fees are from that. This man's making tens of millions of dollars a year. Right. So, that's a great example. Yeah, exactly. 10 million. And I mean, more, what's that? Yeah. 10 million just fees. But bear in mind, that is the real money is made on the upside. So, he's making tens of millions of dollars a year. And how's that all fueled? Personal brand, small niche personal brand, exactly what you guys are going to learn over the space of the next 5 days.
There's a question here from Stefan, which I think talks a lot to what we're going to discuss over the next few days. He asks, if I had the budget to start running ads about 3K a month, is it okay to do so? Or once I have money coming in from that particular funnel, start investing into personal brand? So I think the question is, should he just invest that money into content immediately or invest it into ads? He wants to scale fast, which he put in brackets at the end.
Listen, if you want to scale super, super, super fast, the truth is content does take time. All good things in life take time. For me, it's just kind of the same thing as, listen, if someone tell me they want to have X sort of returns through their investments, then maybe go look at some meme coins. Is that a real solid way to build your long-term wealth? No, we know this, right? It's a slow burn. Building a personal brand is a slow burn. It's something that is a snowball as well. So if you want quick cash, it's a personal brand is not going to be the way that you get there. Now, bear in mind, it also shouldn't take you years, and it won't take you years. It's going to be very, very quick. If you do things intentional, right? If you avoid a lot of the pitfalls that I'm going to be showing you throughout these 5 days, If you avoid those, because I see a lot of people just spinning their wheels. I see a lot of people wasting time getting views, but not getting actual qualified prospects, qualified clients, customers, et cetera, et cetera. So if you do things in the right way, give it a few months. Honestly, you'll start to see results in 2, 3, 4, 5 months. But then from there, it's just year on year on year. As I said, you just truly become a magnet for opportunities. And, really the benefits that come from it, you're not going to find that from ads. The grace and the time and the patience that your customers and your clients give to you. You can really tell a difference between a paid customer and a customer that comes in from your personal brand. And I want to make something very, 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 very clear. I'm not against ads. In fact, we looked at the statistics, at least in terms of tracking, most of you guys here are here from ads. It's just it's retargeting. Okay? So I'm not against ads whatsoever. It's just, and you can still do it. It's just a matter of, really, we should be building a long-term asset here. And, it's funny, I hear people tell me all the time, oh, yeah, I'm long-term thinking. They always say that, long-term thinking. But then I say, okay, but then what's the long tail of all these ads you're running? So that's why for me, if you are a person that likes to think that you're a long-term thinker and you like to think past the next month, 2 months, 3 months, then if I look around, I can't see anything else except for building an intentional personal brand.
How to properly manage an online team and making sure they feel part of the company. I think this is a problem a lot of online entrepreneurs have when they have to start building teams out. It's how to actually keep them engaged and build that culture. So if you can talk a bit to that, please.
Yeah, listen, in terms of building culture, you have to, first things first, every year we do this challenge. We did a marathon a year ago, and I think 77 out of 80 actually completed that. And I think, and just to give you guys context, we did the marathon in 3 locations. So London, LA, London, and Cape Town, right? So that way the team, we could spread the team out and they could go to whichever one was best for them or easiest for them. I ended up running all 3 in 1 week. And for me, that was very important to do so because I think you guys just need to understand, if you want a lifestyle business, there's nothing wrong with that. And once again, I'm going to show you guys inside this training. If you want to make $1 million or $2 million a year profit by having an intentional personal brand and then selling whatever you sell on the back end, and you just want to enjoy your life and work 10 hours a week, 5 to 10 hours a week, you can do that. 100%. You can do that. You just need to understand that one aspect of your business that will struggle more is the churn of team. Okay. So there's pros and cons to everything. There's no perfect setup. Okay. So this is like technically a perfect setup of living that sort of laptop lifestyle or lifestyle business, but you are going to have a higher churn of team members because of course they're going to look at you and they're going to go, okay, so I'm making this person fucking rich. Well, and like he's just chilling by the beach for, and jumps on calls for 2 hours a week. Of course, they're going to have that thing of like, well, I could just do what he or she is doing. I'm telling you right now, no one in my team looks at me and goes, I can just do what she does because I outwork everyone. Now, bear in mind, that's just a personal choice that I've decided to make. And that's also the way that I am these days. Listen, I don't know. It's maybe in 5 years that changes and I decide, fuck it, maybe I should live this laptop lifestyle. So I think you just have to decide what sort of business you want to have. If you do want to have a lifestyle business, that is totally fine. I want to make it very clear. Don't ever let anyone shame you into like, hey, you won the game, but you should keep playing the game. Like if you're making $1 million or 2 million or even 3 or 4 million a year in profit from your business with a lifestyle business, which is really only possible with everything that we're teaching here and over the space of the next few days, it is kind of almost insane to like keep working more. It's like, you just have to be you have to genuinely love it, right? And that's kind of the sort of person that I am. But if you are going to live the sort of laptop lifestyle, just understand that there are some drawbacks to it. Once again, as I said, there's no model is perfect. There's always flaws in every model. And one of those flaws will be you're going to have a little less buy-in from your team. Because of course, they're going to know that you're not at leading the front of the pack, okay?
how important is it to be intentional to optimize for what you want rather than following current trends, right? Because sometimes it can be like reels are in, sometimes long forms in. How important is it to not get caught up in the noise and just be intentional to optimize for what you want?
Listen, I think optimizing for what you want in life is the number one rule of life. No, I think, fuck, what a shame if you just live this life. And this is, to be honest, one of the reasons I wanted to put this event together is just because I've seen so many people in the info space be told you have to hit 10 million, 20 million, 30 million in revenue, not understanding that the people who are telling you this shit are taking home $1 million, 2 million in profit. And it's like, why? Like, why are you going through all this headache and being unintentional about what you actually want in life? And if that's what you want, once again, cool, great, bless you, but that's why it's so important to just be intentional. And the same thing really applies when it comes to content, okay? So what if this fucking guy makes vlogs? Does that mean that you should make vlogs? So what, like, should I now be a Twitch streamer? Because streaming's in and streaming's a cool thing to do. No, it just doesn't align with my goals. Now, if it aligned with my business goals and my empire building goals, I mean, it wouldn't be my number one choice, but I wouldn't be opposed to it, okay? So I think all that to say that another thing that I will mention, I never like being first mover. I know everyone, talks about first mover advantage. I actually don't like being the first mover on anything. I like to wait, see the potential drawbacks and downsides of a thing, and then work from there. Like, for example, what was it now? 2.5 years ago? 2.5 years ago, I saw all the short form blowing up stuff. I saw all the stuff, with clipping and affiliates and this and that, and all the stuff that was going on with Tate. And I was like, that's great. That's amazing to have that many impressions, but I don't want the downside of everything that came with it, which is you don't have any control over your message. You don't have any control over the content that goes out about you. And a lot of stuff is just purely built for more views and not keeping the image of the brand, what you would want your brand to represent. And that's why, that's an example where I wasn't the first mover. I looked at the pros and I'm like, how do I get the pros while trying to mitigate as much as possible from the cons? So I think be very careful. Oh, this person, because I even saw it with YouTube Shorts. We've never posted a YouTube Short on the main channel ever. And I see a lot of channels that were ruined because they just focused YouTube Shorts, YouTube Shorts, YouTube Shorts. And then now they have a bunch of short attention span viewers that don't want to watch the long form content.
Yeah. Interesting. On the content side of it, there's a lot of people asking about where you find your talent and stuff like that. But one of the questions that was quite interesting was, when bringing people in to build your actual content team, what is it you look for? As in, like, raw talent you can mold, or people aligned with your current style? What is the thing that you look for when you're recruiting for the content team specifically?
Well, listen, if you want the honest answer, I have a top-down approach at all my companies, which is I hire the person, person happens to be in this room, Tristan, our chief content officer, who's been initially, 8 years ago? We had a discussion, 2017? Yeah, so 8 years ago, Tristan, I wish I had moved forward. Tristan pitched me to, be my head of content, videographer, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, I don't need it at the time. I wasn't really taking my personal brand seriously. I'm sure some of you guys can relate. Definitely a big mistake. That was 2017, and then he ended up coming on full-time 2020, 3 years later. I finally realized, okay, what am I doing here? This is something I should focus on. And then from there, Tristan has built out the entire content department. And at one point, our content department was massive. I think our entire content department was like 60, 70, 80 with our short form department. Now we've really gotten it like highest ROI, best bang for buck. So when it comes to editors and when it comes to salespeople, when it comes to most positions in these companies, it's very different if you're hiring a developer or you're hiring a CFO or you're hiring, senior positions or really technical positions. With most of these positions, it just comes down to, because training someone up really doesn't take that long. It comes down to, okay, yeah, of course they need to have some talent. They need to know what they're doing. But then it really comes down to, is it a match? Is it a fit? Also, do they get the vibe? You know, because like we could have the 10 out of 10 best editor for some other person's brand. That doesn't really align with the way that we want to represent ourselves. So I think it just also depends on, and bear in mind, that could be the same thing with like maybe my main YouTube channel. We've toned down on the editing these days. We're going a bit of a different direction. But let's say the content we were making 2-3 years ago, maybe you might look at that and you're like, okay, but I'm speaking to this kind of audience. Like for example, if you look at the way we present here or the business channel, even down to the editing, it's very different because we understand you guys are business owners. Okay, you don't want all these flashy cuts and the animation. You just want the knowledge. Okay. Now, of course, we have some visual anchors and some visual guides, just to kind of make present the point. But it's very, very different. So, yeah, to answer the question, I just look for raw talent. I look for people that are a good culture fit for the company, and then do they get the vibe and do they understand what are we really trying to say with the brand?
This is a great fucking question from Chris, right? So he says, you are objectively the best in the space, the ultimate. And like me, many want to pull off similar feats, but there's always that saying that goes, the best magician never reveals their best secrets. Is there an element to what you do that you'll keep secret until you retire? Now, the reason I brought this up is because obviously I know what you teach and coach currently in terms of the empire building and that next level of stuff, as well as the personal branding. So yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to pass that one over to you and let you answer it.
Listen, when it comes to anything social media, anything personal brand, anything info, I will give you 100% of it. Okay, I will give you 100% of it. Now, of course, over the space of the next 5 days, I can't give you 100% because we would have to do this every single day for the next 30 weeks for me to be able to give you everything. And I would have to bring my team on. I have to bring my team on because, as I mentioned, if you ask me a specific question on how we do our outbound or a specific question on ads or how we run these webinars and these events and these, of course, I can tell you from a high level, but my team is substantially smarter than me in all these domains, as it should be, right? So, of course, I can't give you everything here. I'll try to give you the best and really set you guys in the right direction. But I don't hold anything back. Now, I will say I do believe in competition wholeheartedly, for sure. I think anyone that doesn't believe that they can't create competition for themselves is slightly BSing. But that's also, any of the private clients we actually have that we share this stuff with, we turn away a lot of people that I guess, first of all, we just don't align with. And number two, if I think someone's a genuine competition, now, I'll be honest, as it currently stands, there's no one that I think is there. Not to say that there's no one as competent, but of course, everyone has different styles and different philosophies and whatnot. And I think the other thing you have to remember, the reason I'm not scared to share stuff is, the God's honest truth is a lot of people will not buy my stuff because for whatever reason, I'm not showing off enough, or I show off too much. There's some people who think I show off way too much. There's some people who think I don't show off enough. I'm not flexing hard enough. And you're never gonna appeal to everyone. And that's actually the beauty of it, is if you ever look at someone in your industry and you're like, oh, but they have such a grasp on the industry. Some people like highly produced stuff. Some people like whiteboard stuff. Everyone's different, okay? And there's people in the market that are going to resonate with you, down to your age, down to the way you look, down to your ethnicity. There's all of these things that tie into it, okay? So yeah, I'm not particularly worried about giving you guys all this stuff because I really do think that there's a large part of the market that I'm not ever gonna touch, or I'm not ever gonna be able to get a grasp on because I'm just not their cup of tea. And that's the truth of it. And that's something you need to be cognizant of. And it's a blessing and a curse. Blessing because it means that there's so much space for the market, and you'll never be able to get 100% of the market, right? Because listen, it's like all the best personal brands out there. They're very, what's the word I'm looking for? They're very not ostracizing, they're very polarizing. That's the word I'm looking for. They're very polarizing, and usually those are strong brands. So no, I'm not worried about it.
Yep.
And I'll be sharing everything with you.
There's a question here from Mike Seymour. He says, I feel torn between two content directions. I don't think it's important to go into what he does, but I think the question is more around, he's had successful businesses in the past. Does he create content around what he's done in the past successfully, or what he's currently doing? Is there a direction that you would take personally?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Of course, you have to speak as much as you can on what it is that you're currently going through. But you also have to have credentials, or you have to have experiences to back up whatever you're saying. Now, listen, I'm not saying that you need to be the top of the top in the industry, but there needs to be things that you've experienced that has gotten you to where you are. So I think always relaying back to your unique experience. And this really goes back to why me teaching all this stuff isn't really an issue, because you're going to have unique experiences that I haven't had. And from those unique experiences, you're going to be able to draw in an audience that I can't draw in, and vice versa. Like, all that applies for all of us in here. So I think the more that you can go back and relate to, I think when people understand how you came to the worldview and the paradigm and the decisions you have, the more of that you can do, the better and the stronger your personal brand will be. But then, of course, as you're learning things, you want to be sharing real time, as if it's not confidential. Because I will say I find a lot of people share a little too much of what's going on in the moment, and it's I think a lot of people celebrate a little too quickly. You can still have some lag behind, but all that to say that, yeah, definitely pull from past experiences, but share. And I think that's also what builds longevity in a brand. I find a lot of people, they box themselves in. You look at a lot of these personal brands, and they just don't evolve as people. I think the reason I've been able to post on YouTube for 10 years now, and people still, there's been people who have been following the brand for 7-8 years at this point, is because they're like, what's he doing next? What's up? Like, what's the next thing? What's the next business? Where's this empire going next? And whether that's in the business domain or whatever it is that you guys are teaching, I think it's important for you to learn new things. Go out there, learn new things. And that's also why I don't like doing podcasts every single month. For me, my philosophy is I'll go out in the world, I'll learn things, and then I'll come back and share.
Yeah. So good question here from D. Kumar. Again, it's just something we help people without, we help them a lot with this. How do you balance creating content that grows your channel versus content that directly drives business initiatives?
Yeah, great question. Well, we are going to be covering that inside the event, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But it's a fine balance, and I'll go over the actual specific science of it. When you are first starting out, just understand that it's really going to be more about growing the brand, because there's not much to convert on. So really the first 3, 5, 10 uploads is just about growing the brand. And growing the brand, I'll show you, it's pretty simple. It's, we're really not trying to host Mr. Beast games here or anything like that. It really is just about getting the traffic that's already there and carving out a little niche for ourselves. And then from there, once we carve out a little niche for ourselves, then we can cast the net wider and wider and wider. The issue is you guys want to start off with this surface area first. Instead, you just got to really get to the top of one small hill, and then from there you can conquer the rest of the mountain. So yeah, we'll touch on it a little bit more inside of the training. But when you're first starting, definitely you want to be creating content to draw in a new audience. And you don't want to be drawing in an audience of, like, for example, in my case, that's why I didn't start off with, productivity hacks, best online business. I started off with, okay, who's interested in SMMA? Social media marketing agency. That's what I did for years. And when I kind of realized, okay, I've tapped out on this market, that's when I started to cast the net wider. So at first, start off small, dominate that hill, and then I'll show you throughout the days how you can actually cast the net wider from there.
Hater de Freitas has asked, if you could only teach one thing that's the 80-20 for YouTube growth and we should be obsessive with, what would it be?
Concept of the video. You know, you could have I could give you my entire team right now. Okay. And let's say you have a channel with 200 subscribers and you're selling a $20,000 B2B thing. But you're responsible for creating the videos. So the coming up with the general concept, the titling, the packaging of it. You can still have my thumbnail team, but the title and the concept, the actual content of the video, you're responsible for. You're not going to succeed because you will probably go in the wrong direction of millionaire habits, of day in the life of a millionaire in Dubai. These things that you see other people do, this whole monkey see, monkey do of like, oh, but they're getting views. It's like, okay, cool. What if they're getting views? Who cares? Do you know that those views equate to actual customers, especially if the sort of customers that you want? This is why, for example, even this event, not only the messaging of it is very, very different, but that's also why I put it behind a paywall. I have never put a paywall behind any of my events ever. And listen, with the ads we run, the retargeting ads, all that stuff, like, the studio space, everything like that, will break even. I don't care about the money. It's more, I just want to know, is someone willing to spend the money? Because if I know you're willing to spend the money, I mean, that's how I can tell. Even just the quality of questions so far have been top tier. I can tell you guys are a very smart, very astute audience, and a very astute category of people to be here watching this event with me. So I think just being very intentional about the way that you actually package videos and thinking, I always think if this video got 1 million views, because, on the main channel, I'm used to that. With the business channel example, if this video got 1 million views, what would that do for my business? Would that actually help my business with the way it is right now, with what it is that I'm selling? And if the answer is no, then you probably want to cast the net down again.
Got a question from Jason Azaroff, and I know you've spoke at length about this as well. He's talking about potentially launching a digital launchpad type low ticket offer, which I know it's a very, very difficult one to launch and run. And I know that you don't recommend this to people, but he's basically asking what your thoughts are on launching something similar to digital launchpad on the back of your brand.
All I would say is don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah. And this is why I think, when we're speaking with our private clients, I think this is why our private clients appreciate us so much, because we could so easily stroke our egos and say, okay, cool. We've done almost 8 figures in profit now. We've done almost 8 figures in profit in just, I guess almost just over a year with DL. We could so easily say, okay, cool. Well, we've done almost 8 figures in profit from this low ticket MRR thing. We own the IP. So we own all the IP for every single person inside the program. And, our closest competitor then to a wide, learn multiple skills platform where we own the IP of every single instructor and is taught on Netflix grade red cameras is Masterclass. And they have a 27x multiple. So if we were to apply that for us, okay, cool. Well, we could say we're worth a $250 million then, or $250 million. And we could say that to stroke our ego, but we're just not. And that's the truth of it. These info MRR businesses have a lot of churn, which most people don't want to realize or address. The thing is, the past few years, my focus has been on my software companies and the software companies I've been acquiring and investing into. If someone tells me, like, for example, there was one individual who told me, I'm making $1 million a month from my software. I said, okay, cool. What's your churn? He goes, my churn is 30%. I go, okay. So you realize you're going to lose all your customers in 100 days. I said, yeah, I know. And that's why for me, I was like, I don't celebrate the fact that at that time he was making $1 million a month with his software. I look at, okay, what's your LTV? What's your LTV? How many customers do you get per year? I factor in things like churn. And it's with info MR, it's not one of those things where like, yeah, I make 100K a month for my info MR. And then 12 months from now, I'm also gonna be making 100K without replacing that bucket. It's just a beast that needs to continuously be fed. Now for us, I don't regret doing it because obviously we had a very wide, large audience, and that was a way for us to monetize that audience. So yeah, all that to say, I would definitely recommend people stay away from it because the ticket price is so low. Now here's the thing, if you want to I'm not against low ticket, I wanna make that clear as well. If you wanna sell something low ticket, if you wanna sell something $7, for example, and that then leads into another, like for example here, this is a $97 ticket. I would consider this low ticket, or $297, I should say, for you guys. Relatively low, I mean, $297 I wouldn't say is low ticket, but yeah, $97 is low ticket, the general audience, when we go into the general room. But it's not about, I'm not thinking, okay, there's gonna be MR and I'm gonna make 100K a month from it and it's just this passive income, all this stuff. Like guys, the average in these info MR businesses, the average LTV and the average retention is about 4 months, okay? So just this hungry thing that you constantly gotta keep feeding. And it's just not worth it. I say this all the time. Like imagine, let's say for example, people say this, I have 1,000 people paying me $100 a month inside of my X whatever group. Okay, cool. So your average retention is about 4 months. So it's not, they're thinking, okay, it's 100K a month times 12 months, 1.2 million a year. No, it's 1,000 people. Those 1,000 people, each person is worth $400, okay? So each person has a $400 LTV. So it's 1,000 times 400. So 400K in a year, right around 30K a month, just slightly above 30K a month. Listen, to be making 30K a month, you're better off with 3 high-ticket coaching clients. And this is consistently something you guys are gonna see, and I hope that it's something that makes you feel like, okay, you know what, actually this guy actually has our best interest and isn't just trying to say, oh, look at me, I'm so successful. Because once again, you know how easy I could sit up here and say, oh, I'm so successful, look at me, you should do low ticket info MR. I'm a very unique example where I happen to have this huge audience and it was a way for us to monetize it. But if I didn't have that huge audience, I don't think it's an effective strategy. So yeah, all that to say that I would stay away from it. I really haven't seen anyone do it effectively. And I wanna make something very clear. I'm not against ads. I'm against this cold traffic being the #1 source for your business. Once again, we run ads. We spend about 2.5, 3 million, I believe. 2.5, 3 million on ads in the last 5 years. So we've spent money on ads. It's just, we made about $100 million back from it, not directly from ads. But most of that was retargeting, okay? So I'm not against ads. I'm against building your entire business on cold traffic. I've never seen that end well long-term. And I'm not against low ticket. I'm against building your entire business on low ticket MR. And in fact, I'm just kind of against low ticket MR in general because it's not what people believe it to be. And I would much rather just collect more money upfront and charge higher ticket.
Yeah. Rainer Roderick is asking, how many is again up there? So would you recommend building a company brand or a personal brand of the founder? And what makes you decide which way to go with that?
Personal, always. 100%. Like are people bought into Tesla because of Tesla or because of Elon? Now these days, it can come with can go either side. I guess, I know he's a very polarizing figure these days. But all that to say in general, personal brand is the biggest leg up. I mean, really, I don't know. You guys tell me, are there any YouTube channels of companies, like actual hardcore companies that you follow? I can't really think of any. And maybe even if they are company channels, I follow it for a specific person. And if that person leaves, I would just go watch their YouTube channel. Like I wouldn't follow them. I'm thinking about like some car channels I know, like from big platforms. If they left and they started their own channel, I would just follow their channel. I wouldn't follow. I'm not following for the brand, I'm following for the person. So yeah, I keep it personal.
Yeah, there's a lot of people asking here as well, and I think this goes back to the personal brand side and the actual power and leverage you have with it. A lot of people asking, where do you find your talent? Where do you find? And I think exclusively it comes from your personal brand, right? Everything.
I mean, listen, how did you find the company?
Online, personal brand.
It was a podcast, right?
Podcast, yeah, CEO cast, saw you on there and off I popped.
There we go. Listen, everyone who's sitting in the room with me, I have some of my leadership team here today. They all found me through my personal brand. And I think it's a different level of dedication when people find you through your personal brand. They know you, they know what you stand for. And it also weeds out a lot of people. Okay. It weeds out a lot of people because, once again, here's the truth of it. I know that there's a large portion of people that don't fuck with me. And I'm totally cool with that. Some people look at even the things, my style of running companies, my style of hiring, my style of managing, and they look at that, they're like, that's my worst nightmare. Cool, that's fine. Everyone inside of my company loves it. And vice versa. Like, I don't need to, there's a lot of people where I'm like, I would never want to work at your company. Like, that is the worst management style I've ever seen. But that's cool. I'm not for them. So I think it's, not only does a personal brand attract people, vice versa, if you actually keep your personal brand personal, then it almost is like it's a nice vetting process where you know that everyone who comes to you is aligned and they kind of see the world in the way you do.
Definitely. There's an interesting question from Brandon. And again, you've talked about this a lot, that if you actually build a proper personal brand, he's asking if you were to lose everything, how would you restart? How would you, like, what would you do?
And I still had my personal brand?
Yeah.
I'd start a micro niche YouTube channel. I would start making content about an industry. Do I still have my knowledge?
Yeah.
I would start making content about my knowledge. And I would post 5 to 10 YouTube videos. At the end of each video, I would send people to my Instagram just for the first 5, 10 videos. And then I'd just start selling high ticket offers. And that's pretty much about it.
Maria's asking, how fast can we start earning money on a personal brand? Like, she started a personal brand and she just wants to know how quickly can she expect returns and how heavily should she invest in building the personal brand?
Just a heads up, this will be the last question. After that, I'll just give you guys a little buffer time to head to the next room. But to answer your question, the thing you guys need to understand is that you can start a personal brand tomorrow for free. Like, if you go watch a lot of the content even on the business channel, a lot of times now I've just started doing iPhone stuff. When I'm in the car, I don't have time, there's something on my mind. I did one when I was on the plane and I just recorded with ear pods, use that as a mic. You can record stuff on Loom. You really, and once again, my recommendation is people start high ticket and they start with high ticket coaching and personal stuff, right? And that's the best way to make 500K, $1 million, $2 million. Now, some of you guys, and a lot of you guys are at the stage where you're far past that. It's a different story. But even still, look around and we're in this really cool time where people just, they don't want the fluff. You know, they don't want the fluff. They don't want the craziness. They don't want the crazy super editing. And this is coming from like the guy who pioneered the Iman Gadzhi edit style. Like, you know, like it's, once again, it would be much better for my ego to say, no, that style still works. And you know, if I was dogmatic, I was like, no, like you have to make videos like that. But the truth is, the market's changed. The market shifted. And the market wants that raw, just gets, you know, straight to the point, no fluff, fine with the ums and the ahs and whatnot, because they just want real. And, you know, the cool thing is now is the best time to start. Now, I don't know, in a year, in 2 years, it might go back. The pendulum always swings. The market could change and the market could go to, no, we want that sit down style. But for right now, there really has never been a better time to start a micro niche personal brand, because right now, that's what people want. And to start that, you don't need to spend 10 or 20K a month. You can start that tomorrow. Now, there are certain ways where we can speed up your process, and we'll talk about that in the event.